In 1999, Morpheus offered Neo a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. In 2018, this country fractured between red and blue. In 2022, I'm here to tell you that if you really want the truth, more voters are neither red or blue. Yet, they have no representation, no choice, and no options. They have to choose between candidates chosen by the red people or the blue people. I'm David Esrati, and I'm running for Congress as an American, as in red, white, and blue. I'm a veteran, an activist, and a small businessman. I'm asking you to join me in reminding the professional politicians in Congress who their bosses are. I support ranked choice voting, campaign finance reform, and a verified voter information system, all so we can stop having the best politicians money can buy. It's time to elect a veteran who will work for you, no matter what color they want to label you. Please go to electesrati.com and learn more. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Jurassic Park, you thought those little baby dinosaurs were cute until they turned into out-of-control carnivores. That's sort of what happens to government when we elect people based on very expensive advertising campaigns and propaganda. I'm David Esrati. I'm a veteran and a small businessman running for Congress. You don't want professional ad people and pollsters to sway your vote. All those hot-button issues like gun control, abortion, borders are all politicized to stop you from voting rationally. And thinking rationally seems to be in short supply these days. Most Americans have been voting against their own best self-interest for a long time because we've allowed money to buy our leaders. 1 million Americans died in the last 2 years because our leaders couldn't lead. It wasn't that hard. Mask, distance, test, and then vaccinate. In an instant, we had billions to spend on healthcare for COVID, when for years we've been told we can't provide healthcare for everyone equally in this country. That's an unintended consequence of the pandemic. If you think about it, our government can pretty much do whatever it wants, or what the people who buy our politicians tell our leaders to do. We also had a ton of money to prop up businesses. The next thing you know, it turns out that a living wage was not only possible, but necessary. As a small businessman who won't sell you out to corporate interests and lobbyists, I can tell you that it's time to fully understand the consequences of companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google and their effect on small business, and to remind you that small business is the #1 creator of jobs in this country. So this next election, don't trust this ad or any other political ad. Do your homework and think before you vote. It's time to put this ad man in Congress because I know that the best advertising is based on the truth, not the size of the budget or payroll. Or you can just vote based on who has the money to buy their way into Congress and live with the consequences. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Hi, I'm David Esrati. I'm running for Congress. OH-10. That's all of Montgomery County, all of Greene, and a part of Clark, which goes up into Springfield. Today, we're going to talk about gotcha reporting. And I got to tell you, I am just bewildered at what passes for news these days. So, lunchtime today, I got a call from a reporter from the Washington Free Beacon, which is a Republican-funded conservative news-type organization. And the guy started asking me some questions, and since no other, publications are calling, and because I believe in talking to the press, I talked to him, but he didn't even know that they'd run a story about me already. We had to go look it up. And that story was taken from one of these live streams. And they turned it into something all self-important. And I'm going to try to pull that up right now, because I should have had it done already and didn't. But what they said was that I was a Democratic candidate. I'm pulling it up here now, if their ads will stop. It says Biden is corrupt, son Hunter a dope fiend. This was September 16th of 2022. And this was extracted from one of these live streams. And they took things out. And I really, I know I'm a Democrat and everything, but do you want to tell me what Joe Biden's done since he got elected when he was 27? How does he own all those houses? How is he worth what he's worth? I mean, yeah, a book deal here or there, but no, something isn't right about going in, serving your country, and getting to be a multimillionaire. And they made it out like I was separating myself from Biden. Well, I get texts from Biden all the time telling me to help out with the DCCC and, get Democrats elected. The guy is out to lunch, okay? Because I am one of those candidates that he should be helping. But these people don't care. They don't understand. And they said that my fiery rebuke is unprecedented in its hostility, because that's something people like to talk about. And this was where I was responding to chat messages, because I actually respond to things. And I suggested that Biden became wealthy through insider knowledge and successful in stock trading. And we need to fix this. And I did say that. I believe firmly that you need to fix people in Congress from going on and doing stock trades. And Hunter, yeah, he's not smart enough to make that kind of money. And, I am really disgusted with the DCCC, who's been spending an ungodly amount of money lately, targeting me, telling me not to vote for Steve Chabot. I'm not in Chabot's district. Are you that stupid? Apparently. But the fact is, why does it cost $1 million to run for Congress? It's because Congress is bought, sold, and paid for by very rich people, and I have no use for income inequality to the levels that we have in this country. As I've said before, we've gone from 300 billionaires in the United States to 619 billionaires in the United States at the time Mike Turner's been in office, because the only answer Republicans have for everything is tax cuts. None of them believe the government can do anything right, and that's why when Republicans are in office, things go to shit and we go into deeper and deeper deficits, because you cut taxes, you don't invest back in the company or the country, and you end up in the situation we're at. So, this is interactive. I hope you have questions. But I'm going to start telling you some of the things he was asking me about that he considered important. Now, there are lots of things to talk about if you want to know why the state Democratic Party and the local party don't want to endorse me. But he was focused in on my hostility towards them and things I'd said. And I'm going to say it flat out. Yeah, I said F you in church to a preacher when he shut my mic off after interrupting me 3 times in 30 seconds, as I was about to ask Nan Whaley and Phil Plummer, who were sitting there like holding hands almost, telling everybody, oh God, we got to stop Unigov. The reporter had no idea what Unigov was, but Unigov is where, instead of having 30 different jurisdictions in Montgomery County, all with their own little banana republic mayors and school boards and police chiefs and everything else, fire chiefs and everything that goes with it, we could be smart like North Carolina, Florida, states where county government takes care of the whole thing and we don't have all this duplication. I mean, how many superintendents do you need? And do you need one for a school district that has 242 kids? That's Jefferson, by the way. Seriously. A superintendent for a school district smaller than an elementary school. So, let's talk about, so he said, you said that. I'm like, yeah, you know, people said all kinds of things. And then he goes on, well, what about this quote from 2016 that's on Facebook about cum and things like that? I'm like, you know, I thought I was having an intelligent conversation with some intellectual types, and no, I get taken out of context. Can't see the string anymore. They've created this meme and said it, and yeah, Pry said it because they were having a discussion about relationships. You know, honestly, don't care. What I care about are things like the price of insulin, how the Fed keeps jacking interest rates up and screwing the poor, who see their credit card bills go up, the cost of everything go up, while the rich are sitting there counting their money saying, "Ooh, I love this. I'm making 7% now on my money instead of 1%. I really like this." And that's just in the savings account. So we want to talk about things like that? No, we want to talk about some other stupid thing. Like, what was the other one he brought up? Oh, he brought up that I thought that sex offender registries were unconstitutional. That is out of a discussion we were having in our neighborhood group when a woman got very upset that someone on the offender registry was living across the street from her legally, and she wanted the person outed, tarred and feathered, and run out of the neighborhood, and she didn't feel safe. Grown woman. I have a problem with lifetime scarlet letters on convicts after they've done their time, even on sex offenders. It's okay to know who they are and that you probably shouldn't leave your kids alone with them. Okay? It's also probably good that if somebody was involved in embezzlement like Jennifer Sellhorst / Jennifer Woodward / Jennifer Scarf, who now lives in Florida, and I'm coming to get you, you should know that you can't trust her with money because she steals. Lots of money. Okay? I have no problems with being able to find those things and let people know, but I don't think that you sit there and say you have to move out of my neighborhood because you are a former sex offender. So he was all interested in that. I tried to explain why the Ohio Democratic Party didn't like me and the Montgomery County Democratic Party didn't like me. Like the fact that Mohammed Al-Hamdani, who's the chair of the Montgomery County Democratic Party now, engaged in illegal public meetings on our schools before he was even sworn in on school board, and had been having meetings before that he shouldn't have been having. So that's one. And I see we got a question here. Scott Barker, as a voter who doesn't appreciate the polarity of the two-party system, my first question for you would be, what positive things that Mike Turner is currently doing would you be continuing? Well, believe it or not, I would be continuing to support our veterans and the base and the efforts at the VA. I would think we could probably stop having to support the food bank if we had a real living wage and we stopped letting the Fed jack up interest rates. I think I would be very supportive of some of the things that he has agreed with me on Ukraine. I think we should help the Ukrainians because we took away their nuclear weapons and promised to defend them. Also, Putin's insane and we need to stand up to him. So, you know, those are some things. But honestly, I don't think that all of our military spending is relevant or needed. We bought things that the military didn't even want that Mike Turner said were good for our country, like upgrades to the A1 tank that the Army didn't want, and the the J-27 plane that the Air Force didn't want, that Turner ran through and ended up in an Army Reserve unit up in Mansfield. Mike Turner is a horrible elected representative because he won't talk to the people. He won't interact with you. That's the number one reason. Number two, he didn't impeach Donald Trump both times, and he defended Donald Trump on taking home top secret documents, which anybody who's been involved with secure documents knows what a SCIF is, knows what he did was illegal, and that it was a legal search order and everything else. So there you go, Scott. I hope that helps you. But I think the best solution is we get rid of the two-party system. We open it up with ranked choice elections and be done with it. But back to why the The state party doesn't like me. Well, they don't like me because I filed a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit on a FOIA case. That's Freedom of Information Act, asking for the evidence that was collected by people who were working as confidential human sources in the culture of corruption investigation, that were tapes of Dan Whaley doing things that should have gotten her indicted, according to somebody who was on the grand jury. The feds, 3 federal judges recused themselves. The 4th one used an administrative clause to dismiss the case, and is currently sitting in front of the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. That case is a real problem for our current Democratic gubernatorial candidate, who I believe is still wearing a wire, just like Commissioner Williams, and has an agreement with FBI and the DOJ that she would resign if elected to governor. Now, I don't think it's as bad as when Joey did it, because that means Cheryl Stevens will be our next governor, and I'm absolutely okay with that. But that's not really, all of it. The fact is, the people at the state Democratic Party were elected by about 165 people and somehow have rule over every candidate in the state, and think that they should ignore what happened in a primary election where, unfortunately, a majority of Democratic voters, like it or not, picked me and not the other 3 candidates. You may have just earned my vote with what you said about the 2-party system and ranked choice voting. Thank you, sir. Scott, this whole system is a disaster, and ranked choice voting isn't a panacea. I'm going to say it again, until we have what I call a voter information system, where you can find out everything you need to know about a candidate, about the office, about the roles and responsibilities of the office, how to get elected, how to get removed, everything you should need to know, including their votes, so that you can see, are they really working for you and fitting in with you? I am sure we can build such a system. And there are sites like, I think it's called I Stand With, that show you on presidential candidates which candidate would be your best choice. You answer questions, they answer the questions the way they interpreted it from presidential candidates' speeches and their sites, and you see how high the match percentage is. I also truly believe that we need to take the money out of politics, and we'd be a lot better off. We just pay for this whole thing and take all the donations out altogether, because it's become corrupt. So, back to political hack jobs. No sooner than I was done interviewing this guy, I get a call from somebody who I knew a long time ago, hadn't heard from him forever, and he wants to tell me all the secrets of the Dayton Arcade Project. This guy, nice guy, people always used to tell me, oh, you be careful around him. I never had a problem with him. I thought he was a great guy. All of a sudden, he's like frantic to hear my voice, so I call him. I said, look, I'm on a deadline. I'm busy. I can't talk to you now. I can call you after 5. No, I'm available right now. So I call him. Phone doesn't get picked up. Okay. He calls me back a few minutes later. All of a sudden, he's like, well, I got this 3-year-old. I was surprised by that, because he didn't seem like the kind of guy that would have a 3-year-old when I knew him. And he seemed to me to be older than the kind of people that normally have 3-year-olds. I don't have a 3-year-old. Anybody who wants to have a kid these days has my utmost respect, and I think it's great. But I was surprised by it. Somehow he took it as I affronted him, and then he starts posting on Facebook and telling everybody how I, demeaned him for having a kid. This is insane. So I've got to tell you this. That we have a serious, serious problem for our future generation of leaders. People had a meltdown when they found Governor Northam of Virginia in blackface pictures from when he was a college kid. When you realize that kids in junior high have cell phones and take pictures and videos and sext each other, which is still criminal, which is absolutely insane. But we have all these pictures and evidence and social media and searches, and what's going to happen? Where are you going to find perfect candidates to run for office? There are no perfect candidates. This idea that there's some sort of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington fairy tale out there still is wrong. I'm a real person. I swear. I bitch. I say things that are wrong sometimes. I fuck up. There is no question about that. Everybody who's human, who has a brain, does it. We can't be on 100% filter all the time. This guy asked me about my use of the N-word. Excuse me, I've never uttered that word. I've shut kids up on the playground about that word. What I did write about, and I used it one time, was why Dave Chappelle, and I quoted Dave Chappelle verbatim about how he was using the N-word at the Schuster Center at a fundraiser for WYSO, and all of a sudden I used the N-word because I spelled it out, because I don't believe in N-anything. I've been told in the barbershop that I used to go to pre-COVID that there's a difference between the N-word with an R at the end and the N-word with the A at the end. No, there's not. I'm sorry. Oh, I've also been told because I'm white, I can't make that distinction. It's none of my business. This stuff is insane. Insane. And nobody's going to be perfect. I don't care. Trump's not perfect. Hell, he said, I'll grab her, brighten up, you know what. And he got elected. And he's got a huge following by evangelists who don't seem to mind that he's married and divorced 3 times, committed adultery, has been accused of rape. I mean, it goes on and on. This has gotten absolutely insane. In fact, the only credentials these days that people really seem to want to know is if they know your name. Like, some people swear Obama won just because he sounded like he had an Irish-sounding name. And other people are like, oh my God, that's not right. His middle name's Hussein. We need to be a little deeper. We need to ask a lot more intelligent questions. And we have to think about these things. Because no one is ever going to make perfection. And what you're going to do is scare off people. There are so many people that won't run for public office these days because they don't want to have people crawling up their butts or thinking that they've given up their privacy forever. I'm running for office because I believe in America and I believe we can do better, and I believe there's a new way for leading people where you actually talk with them, discuss things with them, and listen to them and interact with them. That was the problem I had when I first went down to City Hall over my garage doors. I went down and said, what's going on here? I buy a house for $14,500. That's not even the price of a new car. I bought a 2-story, 1,700 square foot house with a 2-car garage and a yard, and it was, I couldn't fathom it. But one of the things I needed to do was put new garage doors up. So I went and put up new garage doors, and I got taken to court because they were the wrong kind of doors in a historic district. There were no signs that said South Park was a historic district. It wasn't in the deed. Nobody had told me. I didn't get a welcome packet telling me that. It was like, ooh, we gotcha. And when I went to City Hall and asked them to put restrictive covenants in the deed, to put signs up saying it's a historic district, to do something to stop this from happening to anybody else, they looked at me like I wasn't there. Went right past them. It was like talking to a brick wall. That's what got me into politics. Never mind the fact there was a steel and plastic dipsty dumpster in front of one of my garage doors, so I couldn't even get into both sides of my garage. Was that a historic dumpster? Really? Wow. So, politics is not the same. Politicians are not the same as elected representatives. I am not a politician. People will tell you that. You haven't ever won a race. You're not a politician. It's not quite true, but okay. The key thing about an elected representative is they understand that they have to represent everybody, even those that didn't vote, which is usually almost a majority of Americans that don't vote. So if you think about it, your job is to somehow speak for other people. And how can you do that if you don't listen, like at town halls, if you don't have interactive sessions like this, if you don't ask questions? That's what it's all about. So when the reporter's asking me questions about these little gotcha things, Or the guy on Facebook is all worried because he thought I slighted him for having a kid, and his great story is now going to be covered by somebody else. Hey, go for it. I'm kind of busy right now. I told him that. That's fine. You want to besmirch me, call me names, say I'm horrible, okay. There was a Facebook hate page up until this morning. For some reason, it's somehow disappeared. They commented on my Elect Esrati page. I reported the page for the umpteenth time, and bam, it's gone. Now, there's still one there for people to join if they don't like me, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm sure you can find it on your own. But honestly, picking apart things for the sake of picking apart things. I don't dislike Mike Turner as a person. I don't have anything against him. I dislike the fact that he screwed me for 2.5 years, spending ungodly money of the cities to try to arrest me and silence me from protesting his illegal secret meetings. I do dislike the fact that Mike Turner has been backed by 27 billionaires and is pro-life, anti-abortion, and is going to continue to vote to allow guns in the hands of anybody, and that he failed to see that Donald Trump had done anything wrong taking home secret documents or in any of the other Trump failings that he was brought up for impeachment on. But, the real thing is Mike Turner doesn't care about you, and I actually do. That's why I've put so much effort in the last 30 years in building my neighborhood, taking it from a place where you could buy any house for $14,000, and now houses are selling for a couple $100,000 like hotcakes. So, I don't see any other questions. I don't see anything. Scott says he goes to Activote to screen candidates. I've just become familiar with Activote, so I haven't spent a lot of time there, but there are several of them. But I think we should have our own national site that does this. I think it should be part of the infrastructure of all elections where you can find out everything about every candidate, give them a web presence, have them answer as many questions as they want. You can answer as many questions as you want. It sees how well you match and gives you feedback. I think it's really important that we have an informed, educated electorate. And I think it's really important that we figure out a different time to elect people than November, because it's fourth quarter and all these ad dollars are chasing away my small business's opportunity to advertise, to sell their stuff. Also, it sucks trying to go door to door when it's getting dark at 6:30. It sucks trying to do it when it's cold and rainy. There's no reason for any of this. So, couple housekeeping things. Again, I talked about this yesterday, and some people told me they haven't gotten their ballots in Greene County that they requested. If you have not gotten your ballot in Greene County, you need to contact the Greene County Board of Elections pronto ASAP and make sure you get one, or go vote in person or something before, or make sure it's straightened out. Other things. I am still looking for prime locations on busy roads to put signs. So if you have a house on a really busy street, let me know. I don't have very many of those signs left. I've seen that Tim Ryan's coming to town again on Thursday. It must be important to him. I saw that Trump's coming on Monday night, I think, to stump for J.D. Vance, which makes me kind of ill. But what do you think we could do to get more people out to vote this coming Tuesday? I'd love to hear it. I see Tam says she'd really be behind a national database of that sort. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Scott says, how do you feel Mike DeWine handled the pandemic? I think Mike DeWine handled the pandemic the best of anything he's ever done. I was actually pretty proud of him. However, his doing something after the shooting in the Oregon district totally disqualified him from ever getting my vote. His idea that arming teachers is a good idea, that permitless concealed carry is a good idea, absolutely undoes all the good he did with COVID. Our nation had a horrible response to COVID. I'm having arguments with one of my best friends about this over and over and over, and he keeps talking about natural immunity and how the vaccines don't stop transmission, and how we were lied to, and vaccines cause all kinds of other things. And I'm like, I'm just like, help us. I also know that right now Montgomery County is back at level red, whatever level that means. And at the nursing home that I go to pretty regularly, I have to don a mask and a plastic face shield again, which really sucks because COVID cases are going up again. I have now been vaxxed 5 times. I got my influenza booster. I recommend that you do as well. I am straight Moderna all the way. I do not trust Pfizer as far as I can throw them. And Johnson & Johnson is one of the big donors, and their family gives to Mike Turner. So they're probably on my shit list too. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question, Scott, about Mike DeWine and the pandemic. I thought it was absolutely horrific that Amy Acton was getting death threats. That was something I talked about in yesterday's live stream about the threats to public officials in doing their official capacities. This shit has to stop. All right. I don't see any other questions. I see that it's about that time to call it quits. I'd like to thank all of you who tuned in. I know some of you watch this after the fact. Thank you. Please comment and share. I see all the comments on every one of these live streams, so I respond to those. I hope this has been interesting and informative for somebody. And I do want to tell you that the idea is that once I get in Congress, I will tell you every day what happened, what I was asked to vote on, what I did, why I did it, get input, and then tell you what's coming up the next day so I can get some input too. It's going to be very challenging, but it's my job as your elected representative to keep you informed, and I'm going to do everything I can to do that. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. There are only 7 days to go, thankfully, and this election will be over, and either my life returns to normal or my life takes a giant twist. And I don't know how I'm going to do all this yet, because there are things that are going to be challenging, especially in the care I take of a veteran who is 100% disabled. Haven't worked those problems out yet, but I will figure out a way. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you for taking this time. And, if you support me or don't support me, that's okay, but at least you're trying to be informed. Or maybe you're just looking for more stuff to post on Facebook as memes and say I'm an asshole. Or we'll see what the Washington Free Beacon says tomorrow. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.